Okay, welcome to the video, the 10 most common job interview questions and tips. So in this video, tell me about yourself. We'll be taking a look at questions like this, but the 10 most common ones that have come up in job interviews, and I will show you what those 10 are, and also be sharing some good sample answers to answer those questions, and I'll give you some tips on how to prep for your interview. I'm Professor Job Offer, and I've spent the last 10 years with a number of Forbes Global 2000 companies, and I have a track record of getting my students and clients into companies like this, and I'm here to share with you my tips and tricks on landing your next job offer. So let's start with the 10 most common questions. First and foremost, tell me about yourself. This can come in many different forms. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Please tell me about yourself. Why don't you give me a something similar could be like, why don't you give me a rundown of your resume and so on. But essentially, it comes down to these four words. Tell me about yourself. So it's a little different from introduction. Second common question, what are your strengths or weaknesses? These are two different questions. Some companies might ask you, tell me about 3 of your biggest strengths, or tell me 3 of your weaknesses. But essentially, it comes down to this. Third question, what do you know about our company? This is to see if you've done some research about what the company does. And something similar to this would be, I call it 3A. What do you know about this position? Also, essentially, it's the same thing to see if the interviewee has done their research to get to know the company and the position a little bit. And another common one, why do you want to work for this organization? Why do you want to work here? What is your rationale behind it? Why do you want to be part of this organization? Yeah. And a fifth one, tell me about a time you had a conflict with your manager or a team member and how you resolved the conflict. I'll actually be showing you one of the sample answers for this later on in this video. And number 6, tell me about a time you demonstrated leadership, especially if you're applying or if you're transferring into a management role or a leadership role. This is one of the most common ones to see what kind of leader you are. And here's a fun question that Google has asked. Is it possible that 5 minus 2 equals 4? Oh, how is that possible? Something for you to think about. And number 7, tell me about a time you went above and beyond. Sometimes they extend the question to say, tell me about a time you went above and beyond the call of duty, or tell me about a time you went above and beyond your responsibilities. Yeah, they just want to see what you've done that is outside of your scope of work. And number 8, describe a time you demonstrated problem-solving skills. The fun thing about this question is that this particular yellow highlight can actually be replaced with any other type of skills. So they can say, describe a time you demonstrated negotiation or some technical skills or organization, analytical, the list can go on. So a great way to perceive what kind of skill they might be asking about is to study the job description to see what kind of qualifications the organization is looking for in their candidates. And number 9, this is asking about what would you do? What would you do in the future situation or circumstance? So what would you do if you can't meet the deadline? This happens so much in the organization. They would like to know how you deal with such scenario. And the 10th one, what would you do if you had a different opinion from your manager, which is something that can also come up on a daily basis. Just going to give you a bonus one, an extra one. I call it 10 plus 1. This may not be the most common, however, it is a trend now for organizations to ask because of the corporate social responsibility and ethical business practices is becoming a popular and a rising topic in business. So, what would you do if you found out about unethical actions of your manager, coworkers, or a company? And they might even give you a little analogy to explain further about what counts as an unethical action. But this may be a question that will actually come up, and it might. And going back to that Google question, so is it possible that 5 minus 2 equals 4? I'll show you an answer for this one. So if you actually write it out in alphabets and you subtract 2 letters from 5, then you have the Roman numerals 4. So anyhow, if you're wondering about more questions that Google asks during interviews, I have a whole video on that, so you can go check that out. And this brings us to some good sample answers on some of these interview questions. I'll go over 2 of them using the STAR technique. The STAR is an acronym that stands for situation, task, action, result, and allows you to create a story where you become the main protagonist and become the main problem solver in it with it allows you to create a story around that. So one of the common questions that I gave you previously was describe a time you demonstrated problem-solving skills. So let's go through this in a STAR technique method. So let's explain the situation first. Advertising revenues are falling at my previous company. One of the main causes was due to our long-term advertisers or ad clients not renewing their contracts. And by June, our ad revenue had been 15% below the previous years. Well, this is the situation. And what was our task? What was my task? My responsibility was to generate ideas, incentives, and the strategy to turn around the falling ad revenues. Okay, great. And that brings us to A, the action. What was my action? I reached out to, so that's what I did, to 25 of our long-term clients and gained understanding of two major concerns, which were reduced client engagement and pricing. So in order to address this, I devised a 3-step client care strategy for our account managers to build a better rapport and improve engagement. Additionally, I created promo packages to bundle ads with other services of our organization to offer discounts. Okay, that sounds like a pretty thorough action that where you're solving the problem of falling ad revenues. So what did that result in? Using STAR, my 3-step client care strategy and promo package eventually brought back 70% of the lost long-term clients by the end of the year, as well brought 15 additional accounts through promo packages. Wow. And resulting in 12% increase in ad revenue compared to the previous year. So by following the situation, task, action, result, you explained the situation, what was happening, and how you were able to action on certain items to deliver results in regards to problem-solving skills. Here's another one. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but you can always pause the video if you need to. So tell me about a time you had a conflict with your manager or a team member and how you resolved the conflict, right? So they want the full story. Here's a situation, the task, the action, and the result. So, and if you want to know more about how to use the STAR technique and what the idea behind it is, I do have videos on what the STAR technique is and how to use it and when to use it for which questions. So feel free to go take a look at that video. And so some additional interview preparation tips. How should you be preparing for these interviews and all these crazy questions? Because 10 most common questions are, like we said, they're only the common questions, and there's so many more. So I like to categorize the interview questions into 3 different types, first of which I call them the introduction questions. And in this video, I explain the rationale or the purpose behind why companies ask these questions and show you some examples of the introduction questions, and also have video on the skill-based questions, which are the second type of job interview questions, which some of which were actually on the list of 10 common ones, and same thing, the rationale behind it and the examples, as well as the behavioral questions. And yeah, all of these resources are available, so feel free to go take a look at those. And if you're wondering what kind of questions should I be asking at the end of interviews like this, there's also a video on that to help you prep for your next job interview. So today we looked at the 10 of the most common interview questions. The list probably was like 12 or 13, and I showed you some good sample answers on how to answer those using the STAR technique, and also shared with you some videos on how to you can prepare for your next job interview. So yeah, I'm Professor Job Offer, and I'm here to help you land your next job offer. Thanks for watching.